Yo, what's good? So, we gonna be talking about philosophy versus spirituality and how this really deals with 4D versus 5D. Because 4D is, when you have an awareness of the mental plane, which pretty much is when you're aware of your thoughts. You're like, you can actually realize that there's thoughts going on inside of your mind. That this is new for some humans. You know that it's crazy, but nowadays most humans are pretty much at that stage where at some point in their life they're aware that they have thoughts inside of their head. But then 5D is when you truly become conscious and realize that you are not the thoughts, but the thing that's observing the thoughts. Because you can be aware of a thought, but you relate to that thought as if it's you, like your truest self, like it's actually like your true you, like you are the person inside of your head. Because you're not the person. You're like what you truly are is not the voice in your head. However, the voice in your head is an expression of yourself, right? Like when you express your intelligence, right? You use your intellect to create thoughts with inside of your mind, right? But you are the thing that's doing all that. You're the actual consciousness that can actually do that. It can actually generate the thought. You feel me? So there's like a very big difference between that. But sometimes the lines get blurred. I want to show you guys real quick what philosophy means and then spirituality. And then I'm going to talk about how that relates more to 4D and 5D because 5D is all about the soul, and the soul is the first plane that is actually spiritual because, it's actually of the spirit. You feel me? Because your soul is pretty much a tiny aspect of your spirit that's used to focus your spirit's awareness into this lifetime right here, since your spirit is eternal and it can exist in multiple points of time and space all at once. And sometimes it wants to focus inside of one lifetime, so it needs a soul to do that. You feel me? So, with that being said, let me pull the definitions up real quick. If I just switch this over, y'all should be able to see, right? Let's look away real quick. Boom. Alright, wait, boom. So, philosophy, right? It says that philosophy is the study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when concerned as an academic discipline. Now, some of y'all may get that. That shit might fly over some other niggas' heads. So I'm gonna. This one's real easy. You see, a theory or attitude held by a person. A theory or attitude held by a belief. Oh, we get it now. Philosophies deal with your beliefs, right? And they pretty much deal with your beliefs about the nature of knowledge, the nature of reality, the nature of all existence, right? And then when it comes to philosophy, they tend to make it more academic. So they try to at least make these thoughts somewhat logical, right? Like it's not logical that we all came from a toenail. You feel me? You may believe that, but it's not that's not as logical as something like, oh, the universe is conscious because atoms are somehow able to be aware of other atoms and then they somehow know how to bind with that atom. It's like something programmed the atom. It's like the atom at least has intelligence, even if the atom's not conscious of itself doing that thing. But then who programmed that atom? You feel me? And if something programmed the atom and created atoms, that's like it expresses intelligence. And when I express my intelligence with inside of my head, I create a thought. And it's like, damn, what if atoms are the thoughts of something that's conscious beyond us? Because atoms technically express intelligence because they know how to bond with other atoms. They're expressing their intelligence and they're acting on it by bonding with that atom. They know how to do that on some level. That's intelligence, right? Right? That's intelligence being expressed. You feel me? So is it really wrong for me to think that, you know, if I express my intelligence and it manifests as thoughts within inside of my mind, what if atoms are like the thoughts within inside the mind of some greater fucking consciousness, and we might be connected to that shit. You feel me? Right? 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 You feel me? You feel me? Right? So that's like more logical. You feel me? Because we know about atoms, right? And technically atoms do technically express intelligence. You feel me? That's more logical than saying that we came from a toenail. You feel me? So that's why I'm trying to break down the definition for y'all about philosophy. You feel me? I went into a whole spiel about atoms. You feel me? Being the thoughts of like something higher, because that it is somewhat logical, right? Like you feel me? Like what I said actually does kind of make sense. You feel me? Like atoms really do express intelligence. You feel me? Because the atom knows how to do something. You feel me? That makes sense, right? You feel me? And it's acting like it's not like the atom's not saying, "Oh my God, I know you're carbon." You feel me? It's not doing all that, but it somehow knows how to form a bond. It's like it's programmed by something. It's like it's programmed by a greater thing, and it programmed and it had this thought, and it's like, "Yo, I want some shit to bind with this shit," and then that shit really happened. And it's like you be thinking shit, you be thinking the thought, you be seeing it inside your head and shit like that. So it's like you get my point. It makes some kind of sense with that. That's philosophy right there. It's beliefs that kind of make sense, that deal with the nature of reality, existence, all that shit. You feel me? Then there's spirituality. It says the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. Now, let's get into that, boy. So what we need to understand, right, is that when you start being concerned with the human spirit and soul, you're going beyond your thoughts. You're going beyond your beliefs. You're starting to have direct experience with things. You're not just thinking like, "Yo, what if?" Because you could, like I said, I made that logical thought about the whole entire atom shit, right? You feel me? And it's like that's cool to think about, but wouldn't it be better if I actually knew? Like, what if I could actually somehow experience something that literally gave me the ability to truly know if what I said was truly true? You feel me? Spirituality really allows you to actually start knowing how the nature of reality is, because people think about it, right? People think about it with philosophy, but some niggas don't know about it. You feel me? When it comes to spirituality. So let me get my background again, real quick. Hold up. Alright. So, what I'm about to say right now is really important. Understand that most of the spiritual community, they're really philosophical. And I don't even want to say it like that. I don't want to say most of the spiritual community because I don't even know most of them. So I shouldn't have said that. My bad. That's an overgeneralization. But there's a good amount of people that are in the spiritual community, but they're kind of just philosophical. They're kind of just philosophical, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. But we just need to understand that, because I feel like everyone's been there before. I've had a very philosophical stage before, and I still use philosophical thought to try to theorize certain things, and based upon certain theories that I get, I try to actually experience something that would allow me to know that thing. Because you can't ask a question about something you don't know about. For example, if you don't know what a water bottle is, you can't ask somebody for a water bottle because you don't know what that is. Once you know what that is, you can actually ask for that. So if you could think about certain things like, "Yo, what if something is like that?" Now you have the ability to ask about that thing. You feel me? So I'm saying that because I'm not saying that it's wrong to use philosophical thought or nothing like that. But a lot of people act like they know certain things just because it makes logical sense. But the spiritual plane exists beyond logic and stuff like that. You feel me? It really does. We need to understand. Hold on, let me make myself smaller real quick. I feel like I'm mad big on this joint. Let me see. I'm chilling. I'm chilling. Let me stop. Nah, no, in all seriousness though, right? A lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, that made sense." You feel me? Yeah, that's what it is. Boom. But how do you really know that? What have you really experienced that really grants you the ability to know that? You feel me? Because some niggas start trying to add science into it, and it's like you could use science for sure. Like science is good for certain shit. I ain't gonna cap. You feel me? You could definitely do that. You could definitely do that. You can. But people like to twist science and they like to use science to kind of prove certain stuff, and it's like, yeah, scientists have said this, so that means this. A lot of times they be lying anyway. You feel me? Like I ain't gonna cap, you seeing it all the time. Like I like to watch those, like even though like because I make reaction videos, I don't always react. I mean, I always react to those kinds of videos. You feel me? But I do watch some Jones in my free time where like I see a lot of niggas who be trying to like use science and they be like, it's just like, no, nigga, like that's not what that means. You feel me? They be getting cut by other niggas in the science community anyway. So it's like it is what it is. But I'm saying that because science, like there are certain things with spirituality that science is good for. You feel me? But but you can't always depend on science for certain things. The only thing you could truly depend on is your direct experience of your soul and of your spirit. If you want to really understand these, if you really want to understand the nature of reality and all these things, you gotta become spiritual, bro. Because all things come from the spiritual planes. You feel me? Now that's a philosophical thought that can actually be tested if you experience it for yourself. Because until you experience it, that's just a thought, and it's still in the realm of philosophy. It's still in the 4D. You feel me? Because the 4D is the mental plane, the fourth plane of existence, right? The 4D is the fourth density of consciousness, which is the awareness of the fourth plane of existence, which is the mental plane. If you don't really experience your soul and your spirit and all that type of stuff, you feel me? You are still kind of in the realm of thought when it comes to understanding how these things work. So, this is why I'm saying that there are people, right? And I'm not even thinking about anyone in particular, and I really I promise I can't even really think about people. Dang, okay, not now. Now that I started saying that, I started trying to think about people. You feel me? And I mean, I could think about a couple of things that I've seen. You feel me? But this isn't like this isn't a diss. I could promise you that. You feel me? It's 2-2-2 right now. I'm not trying to cap. I have no reason to cap. You feel me? You feel me? A lot of niggas like numbers to prove points and shit, right? Do I get number points? Do I get number points? Let me stop. But no, no, seriously, no. You feel me? There's people who like may say things and they say them as if they really know them, but they don't really know it. You feel me? But they think they do, and really they're just sharing philosophy. And if they want to do that, that's cool. But people need to be aware of that. You feel me? Like there's nothing wrong with theorizing about, oh my god, what if it's this? What if it's that? Oh my god, that'd be cool. You feel me? Especially when it comes to like true philosophy, we're trying to make it somewhat logical. It's like, we do have certain things that do point to this, certain things that do point to that. What if it really is that, right? But we can't fully say that we know anything until we have a direct spiritual experience with it. I mean, at least when it comes to things that deal with the spirit, right? Because, like I said, philosophy, when you look at the definition, it deals with the nature of reality and things like that. And the nature of reality is always coming from the spiritual planes. You feel me? So, really just think about that. Really think about that. Of course, you can understand that, like, oh, like when it comes to physical things, right? If you believe that cars are able to be driven, then you drive a car. You can prove it. You feel me? But when it comes to the nature of reality, bro, you can't really like science can help you, but it only goes so far, and that's because science can only really tap into the physical plane, right? I mean, depending on how far technology and certain stuff get, they might be able to go to higher planes. They might already be doing it. Shit, certain shit I heard from some niggas in the Navy, they have. You feel me? Let it be told. But my whole entire point is the fact that most science that you see, like mainstream and shit like that, they can only talk about like the physical plane, you know. But the physical plane is the last plane of existence. You'd have to, you know, start getting in tune with the spiritual planes of existence to truly understand the nature of reality. So people who act like they know the nature of reality but never experienced it, gotta watch out for that. Cause that's been me before. That could be you. That could be someone that you're watching. That could be nobody. But I do want to make this video so y'all can have the separation. Like, cause I like because I've talked to people right who've come to me like for help, for example, and they may like believe something, and I'm like, like where'd that like come from? And like it came from somebody else, and like that belief may like really be hurting them in their life, and then I kind of like help them, and I kind of tell them like, that might not be true how they really said it, and they're like, okay, word. So what you think? Like, what is it really for real? Then I tell them kind of like what it really is, and they be helping them, and they be happy. You feel me? So I'm not trying to like hurt nobody. Like that's not what my whole entire purpose is. The fact that I just want people to like kind of think deeper. Like if you have certain beliefs, think about where they came from and why you believe them so much. You know, and if you really have something that proves that belief to be true within inside of yourself. You feel me? I'm about to sip some water real quick. Hold up. So yeah, man. Long story short, really be careful and really observe what you believe when it comes to, you know, things that people talk about in regard to spirituality and all these different things and reality and what's really going on and stuff like that. If people have never really had a direct experience with certain things, you know, that's cool to speculate, but don't just accept it as a 100% fact. You know, and that's all this video is really about. Not trying to hurt nobody, not trying to criticize nobody. It's really not the point of this video. I'm trying to help. I'm not trying. I just want niggas to think deeper and to really become more spiritual. Because sometimes you may think that just if you read a whole bunch of books and watch a whole bunch of videos and learn a whole bunch of things, you'll truly know what the fuck's going on. But sometimes you gotta just meditate and build your spiritual power up and stuff like that, and do more practices and shit, then experience things for yourself spiritually. You feel me? Watching niggas isn't bad. You feel me? You could watch people who've had direct experience, right? But you're not gonna fully truly know to experience that shit for yourself. Even with you watching this video or any of my other videos. I make a lot of videos talking about how things like quote unquote truly are. You feel me? But you can't know that until you directly experience it for yourself either. You feel me? So even though like I'll go hard for the stuff that I speak about, that's because I experienced that for real. But you haven't yet. So you don't have to take that as 100% fact. You can wait till you experience it for yourself. And that's cool. You feel me? But that's the difference between 4D and 5D, though. One is speculation in the 4D, one is true understanding and knowing in the 5D. And you got to decide which side you want to be on. You feel me? So I'm ending the video right there. I love you all. I'm going to catch you in my next video. Peace. The freak out.